Signal from the Star's commander. Elena Reyes stood at the observation deck of the Earth Alliance vessel Horizon, watching the endless sea of stars drift by. This far from Earth, in the uncharted regions of the Sagittarius Arm, the stars seemed different somehow, colder, more distant, as if warning humanity that they were venturing where they didn't belong. The Horizon was Earth's most advanced exploration vessel, equipped with the newly developed Alcubierre warp drive that had finally broken the light-speed barrier that had kept humanity bound to their solar system for so long. Elena ran her hand along the cool metal railing, feeling the subtle vibration of the ship's engines. After 6 months in deep space, the Horizon and its crew of 48 had mapped 17 previously unknown star systems, but found no signs of intelligent life. The galaxy, it seemed, was a lonely place. "Commander," a voice interrupted her. "Thoughts?" Lieutenant Marcus Chen, the ship's communications officer, stood in the doorway, his usual calm demeanor replaced with barely contained excitement. "We've detected something. I think you should see this." In the communication hub, screens lit up with waveform patterns and mathematical sequences that repeated with perfect precision. Chief Science Officer Dr. Amara Okafor was already there, her fingers dancing across holographic panels as she analyzed the incoming data. "It's definitely artificial," Amara said without looking up. "The sequence contains prime numbers, basic mathematical constants, and what appears to be a simple pictographic language. Classic first contact protocol." "Origin?" Elena asked, leaning closer to the screens. "A star system about 3 days' travel from our current position," Marcus replied. "Unmapped, with at least 5 planets. The signals coming from the second planet. Could be automated," Security Chief Raj Patel interjected, his arms crossed over his broad chest. "Or a trap. We've all seen the movies." Elena smiled despite herself. "This isn't a movie, Chief. This is what we came out here for." She straightened, her uniform making a decision. "Set course for the signal's origin. Yellow alert status. Let's see who's calling." As the Horizon altered course, the crew's excitement was palpable. Humanity had wondered for centuries if they were alone in the universe. Now, they were about to find out. Over the next 3 days, the signal grew stronger. The science team worked around the clock decoding what they could. The message repeated a simple pattern: distress, help, danger. Something was wrong in the system they were approaching. "Dropping out of warp in 5 minutes, the navigator announced as Elena took her place in the command chair on the bridge. "All stations report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Weapons systems, ready, shields at maximum," Raj reported. "Communication arrays primed to receive and transmit on all frequencies," added Marcus. "Science stations monitoring for any biological, chemical, or radiological hazards," Amara confirmed. Elena nodded. "Take us in, nice and slow." The Horizon emerged from warp at the edge of the system, sensors immediately sweeping the area. The second planet was terrestrial, slightly larger than Earth with 2 small moons and an atmosphere rich in oxygen and nitrogen. In orbit around it was a vessel, roughly twice the size of the Horizon, its design unlike anything humans had conceived. Organic curves and crystalline structures that seemed to glow with an inner light. "Life signs?" Elena asked. "Yes," Amara confirmed, her voice filled with wonder. "Hundreds of them. Definitely not human." "They're hailing us," Marcus announced. Elena took a deep breath. "On screen." The view screen flickered to life, and the bridge crew collectively gasped. The being that appeared was humanoid, but clearly alien, tall and slender with 4 arms, iridescent blue skin that seemed to shimmer with bioluminescence, and large, almond-shaped eyes that were entirely silver. Behind it, others of its kind moved about what appeared to be their bridge, their movements graceful and fluid. "I am Alara of the Luminar Cooperative," the alien said, its voice melodic and strangely soothing despite the obvious translation technology being used. "We thank you for answering our call." Elena stepped forward. "I am Commander Elena Reyes of the Earth Alliance vessel Horizon. We received your distress signal. How can we assist you?" Ilara's expression changed, a ripple of light passing across their features. Our world has been targeted by the Ricari Imperium, a militaristic species that seeks to claim our resources. Our people are peaceful scientists and artists. We have no weapons, no defenses. Our ship escaped to send a call for help, but the Ricari will follow. They always do. Elena exchanged glances with her officers. First contact, and they were being drawn into an interstellar conflict they knew nothing about. We would need to know more before offering military assistance, she said carefully. Perhaps we could meet and discuss this further? Ilara nodded, a gesture surprisingly similar to human communication. We would welcome you aboard our vessel, the Starlight Seeker. We have much to share. 2 hours later, Elena led a small delegation to the Luminar ship. Herself, Amara, Raj, and Dr. Liam Torres, the ship's chief medical officer. The Luminar craft was even more impressive from within. Corridors that seemed grown rather than built, with walls that pulsed with soft light and ceilings that displayed what looked like star maps. Ilara greeted them personally, leading them to a chamber where other Luminar waited. They were served a clear liquid that tasted like honey and mint, which Dr. Torres discreetly confirmed was safe for human consumption. Your species fascinates us, Ilara said. We've observed many intelligent races throughout the galaxy, but few venture as far from their home systems as you have with your level of technology. We're explorers by nature, Elena replied. Seeking out new life and new civilizations is part of who we are. One of the other Luminar, introduced as Thelian, their chief scientist, leaned forward. And your homeworld? Our scans indicate your biology evolved in conditions that would be challenging. Amara raised an eyebrow. Challenging? Earth is perfectly habitable. Thelian exchanged looks with the others. Your oxygen levels are extremely high by galactic standards. Your gravity is 1.3 times what most intelligent species evolve under. Your solar radiation levels alone would cause cellular damage to most species, yet you've adapted to it. You've developed on what we call a death world, Ilara explained. A planet that would kill most species in the galaxy. It has made your kind remarkably resilient. Elena wasn't sure whether to be proud or concerned by this assessment. And the Ricari? What kind of world do they come from? A high-gravity world like yours, but with a toxic atmosphere and extreme temperature variations, Ilara said. They've conquered 17 systems in the last century. They believe only the strong deserve to spread among the stars. How long until they arrive? Raj asked, ever practical. Less than 20 standard hours. They will come with at least 3 warships. Elena considered their options. The Horizon was primarily an exploration vessel, though it did have defensive capabilities. They were outnumbered and in unfamiliar territory. Logic dictated they should leave, report back to Earth, and let the Alliance decide if this was a conflict worth joining, but the Luminar had called for help, and humanity had answered. We'll need to know everything about Ricari tactics, their weapons, their vulnerabilities, Elena said, and we'll need to coordinate with your people. Relief visibly washed over Ilara, manifesting as waves of light beneath their skin. You will help us? Elena nodded. Where I come from, we don't abandon those who ask for help. Besides, she added, with a small smile, I'm curious to see how these Ricari handle encountering another Deathworld species. Over the next hours, humans and Luminar worked side by side. The Horizon's engineering team helped reinforce the Luminar vessel's structural integrity. Weapon systems were calibrated, communication protocols established. The Luminar shared their advanced sensor technology, which gave the humans a significant advantage in detecting incoming ships. Through it all, the cultural exchange continued. The humans learned that the Luminar evolved on a low-gravity moon, with minimal radiation and a gentler environment, leading to their slender builds and sensitive perception. Their society valued knowledge and artistic expression above all else, with no concept of warfare until they encountered other species among the stars. In turn, the Luminar were fascinated by human resilience. When Dr. Torres accidentally cut his hand and simply cleaned and bandaged it before continuing his work, the Luminar were astonished by his pain tolerance and natural healing ability. When Raj demonstrated Earth martial arts techniques, they watched in wonder at the speed and strength his Deathworld muscles provided. As the estimated arrival time of the Vakari fleet approached, Elena gathered her officers for a final briefing aboard the Horizon. "The Luminar have given us detailed information on Vakari capabilities," she explained, displaying holographic models of their ships. "They're technologically advanced, particularly in weapons systems. They favor overwhelming force and intimidation tactics. Their ships appear to have stronger forward shields but weaker ventral protection," Amara noted, "and their sensor systems struggle with certain radiation frequencies our engines naturally produce." Raj leaned forward. "It's 3 against 2 and they outgun us, but they won't be expecting us. The element of surprise might give us an edge." Elena nodded. "We'll use that to our advantage. The Horizon will position itself behind the larger moon, masking our signature. When the Vakari engage the Luminar, we'll execute a flanking maneuver." "Commander," Dr. Torres interjected, "the Luminar physiology is extremely sensitive. Their tolerance for G-forces and combat conditions is significantly lower than ours. In a prolonged engagement—" "I know," Elena said grimly. "That's why we need to make sure this isn't prolonged." The bridge fell silent as the reality of their situation sank in. They were about to engage in humanity's first interstellar combat, defending an alien species they'd just met against another. They knew only through second-hand accounts. "Sensors are detecting warp signatures," the tactical officer announced, breaking the silence. 3 vessels approaching fast. Elena straightened her uniform. "Battle stations. All hands prepare for combat operations." She turned to her officers, meeting each of their eyes. "History is watching us. Let's show the galaxy what humans are made of." The Vakari ships dropped out of warp, their angular obsidian forms a stark contrast to the organic design of the Luminar vessel. On the primary view screen, Elena and her crew watched as the drama unfolded, waiting for their moment to intervene. "Incoming transmission from the lead Vakari vessel," Marcus reported. "They're broadcasting to the Luminar ship." "Let's hear it," Elena ordered. The voice that filled the bridge was deep and resonant, speaking through a translation matrix similar to what the Luminar used. "Luminar vessel. This is Commander Vexcar of the Vakari Imperium. Your system has been claimed for the glory of the Imperium. Surrender and prepare to be boarded or be destroyed." The response from the Luminar was calm and measured, Ilara's voice. "We claim the right of peaceful existence. We have called allies to witness this unprovoked aggression." A pause, then the Vakari commander's voice again, tinged with amusement. "Allies? What primitives have you deceived into supporting your doomed cause? Show them to us that they may have the honor of joining you in oblivion." Elena nodded to Marcus. "That's our cue." She stood, straightening her uniform. "Open a channel to all vessels." As the Horizon emerged from behind the moon, engines blazing, Elena addressed not just the Luminar and Vakari, but all of humanity's first extraterrestrial audience. "This is Commander Elena Reyes of the Earth Alliance vessel Horizon. We stand with the Luminar Cooperative against this unprovoked aggression. Vakari forces, withdraw immediately or face the consequences of your actions." The silence that followed was brief, but profound. Then, as the Horizon took up position beside the Luminar ship, the Vakari commander responded, his voice now colored with genuine curiosity. "Another species enters the game. Let us see what these Earthers are made of." The Deathworld advantage, the Vakari warships moved with precision, taking up combat formation with the largest vessel at the center. They were sleek and predatory, their black hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it, making them seem like voids against the star-filled backdrop of space. "Analysis," Elena demanded, studying the tactical display. "Their weaponry appears to be primarily energy-based, directed plasma and some form of particle beam technology," Raj reported. "Hull composition unknown, but extremely dense. Their shields are modulating frequencies adapting to our scans." "They're hailing us," Marcus announced. Elena nodded. On screen, The view screen flickered, revealing a being that sent a collective shudder through the human crew. The Ricari commander was humanoid but with distinctly reptilian features, scaled skin the color of burnished copper, eyes with vertical pupils, and a jaw structure that suggested powerful muscles and sharp teeth. He wore what appeared to be a military uniform of some kind with insignia that gleamed metallic against the dark material. "I am Commander Vexcar of the Ricari Imperium," he said, his voice a low rumble. "You have inserted yourselves into matters beyond your understanding. Earthers, this system and its resources have been claimed by the Imperium. The Luminar are weak. They do not deserve the gifts this world offers." Elena maintained her composure, meeting the alien's predatory gaze. "Commander Vexcar, I am Commander Elena Reyes of the Earth Alliance. The Luminar have asked for our assistance and we have granted it. We do not recognize your claim to this system or its inhabitants." Vexcar's mouth stretched in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "Your species is unknown to us. Your vessel is primitive, yet you position yourselves against the might of the Imperium. Interesting." He leaned closer to the screen. "I offer you one opportunity. Withdraw your protection of the Luminar, and the Imperium will consider opening diplomatic relations with your Earth Alliance." "We don't abandon our allies," Elena replied evenly, "and we certainly don't respond to threats." The Ricari commander studied her for a moment longer. "Then you will share their fate. The strong survive, Commander Reyes. The weak perish. It is the only law that matters among the stars." The transmission cut off abruptly, and Elena turned to her crew. "Shields to maximum. Weapons systems hot. Coordinate with the Luminar vessel. We need to present a united front." "Commander," Amara interjected, "I've been analyzing the Ricari ships based on the Luminar data and our scans. Their technology is impressive, but there's something about their shield modulation that suggests a vulnerability to rapid frequency shifts." Elena nodded. "Work with weapons control on exploiting that. We need every advantage." Before further preparations could be made, the tactical officer called out, "Energy spike from the lead Ricari vessel. They're firing." A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the Ricari flagship, striking the Luminar vessel's shields. The elegant ship shuddered visibly, its defensive barrier flickering under the assault. "Return fire," Elena ordered. "Target their weapon systems." The Horizon's phase cannons and missile launchers responded, sending streaks of energy and projectiles toward the Ricari ships. Most were deflected by their advanced shields, but one missile penetrated, detonating against the hull of the smallest vessel. "Direct hit," Raj announced. "Minimal damage to their outer hull, but their shield frequency just shifted." Amara was right. They're adapting. The battle quickly intensified. The Ricari ships moved with practiced coordination, trying to separate the Horizon from the Luminar vessel. The humans fought with determination and ingenuity, using the superior maneuverability of their smaller ship to evade the worst of the Ricari firepower. But it was clear they were outmatched. After 15 minutes of intense exchange, the Horizon's shields were down to 30%, and the Luminar ship was faring worse. A direct hit had breached their hull in 2 sections, and their life support systems were failing. "We need to buy them time," Elena said grimly, steadying herself as another impact rocked the ship. "Raj, what's our most powerful remaining weapon?" "The Nova torpedoes," he replied. "We have 3. They're designed for clearing asteroid fields, not combat, but the yield is significant." Elena considered their options. Standard tactics weren't working. It was time for something the Ricari wouldn't expect. Something that highlighted the Deathworld creativity that had allowed humans to survive and thrive on Earth. "Prepare all 3 torpedoes," she ordered. "Target the space between the Ricari ships, not the ships themselves." Raj looked confused but nodded. "Aye, Commander." "Amara, what's the composition of the torpedoes?" The science officer pulled up the specifications. "Standard fusion core with a titanium iridium casing. The explosive yield is—" "I need to know what elements they'll release when detonated," Elena interrupted. Understanding dawned on Amara's face. Primarily hydrogen, oxygen, and various metallic particles. The fusion reaction will also release a significant electromagnetic pulse. Perfect. Elena turned to communications. Marcus, warn the Luminar to shield their sensors and prepare for a temporary communications blackout. As the crew prepared the unorthodox attack, the Vrikari pressed their advantage, now focusing their fire on the horizon. The ship shook violently as a plasma beam scored a direct hit on their starboard engine. Nacelle, shields down to 15%, the tactical officer reported. Hull breach on Deck 3, emergency containment holding. Now, Elena commanded. Fire all torpedoes and execute full reverse thrust. Get us behind the Luminar ship. The Nova torpedoes streaked toward the center of the Vrikari formation. As expected, their point defense systems tracked the incoming projectiles but didn't fire, likely confused by the strange targeting that wasn't aimed directly at their vessels. The torpedoes detonated simultaneously in the void between the three Vrikari ships. Instead of the expected explosion focused on destroying a target, the detonation expanded in a spherical pattern, creating a rapidly expanding cloud of superheated plasma and metallic particles. The electromagnetic pulse that accompanied the blast temporarily disrupted sensors and communications across the battlefield. Phase 2, Elena ordered calmly. Full power to forward shields. Take us in. Using the confusion caused by the detonation, the horizon plunged directly into the expanding cloud of particles and radiation, conditions that would have been lethal for unprotected humans, but were well within the tolerances of their Deathworld, engineering and shielding. The Vrikari, despite their advanced technology, hadn't anticipated a tactic that essentially created an artificial hazard in space. Their ship's sensors were momentarily blinded by the dense particle cloud and electromagnetic interference. Fire all remaining weapons, Elena commanded as they emerged from the cloud directly behind the Vrikari flagship. Target their engines and weapon systems. Precise strikes only. The horizon unleashed its remaining arsenal with surgical precision. Phase cannons carved into the flagship's now exposed engine section, while missiles targeted weapon emplacements on the other two vessels. The Vrikari ships attempted to regroup, but the coordinated attack had caught them by surprise. One of the smaller vessels lost power to its main engines, drifting helplessly. The flagship managed to turn, bringing its main weapons to bear on the horizon. Incoming, Raj shouted. The impact was devastating. The horizon's already weakened shields collapsed, and the bridge plunged into emergency lighting as systems failed across the ship. Multiple hull breaches, the tactical officer reported. We've lost main power to weapon systems. But even as the humans reeled from the counterattack, the Luminar vessel, which had been seemingly incapacitated, suddenly surged forward. Using technology the humans hadn't seen before, they projected some kind of energy field that temporarily neutralized the Vrikari flagship's shields. They're creating an opening for us, Amara realized. Elena seized the opportunity. Divert all remaining power to engines and our last phase cannon. Target that opening. With its remaining strength, the horizon fired a concentrated beam directly into the vulnerable section of the Vrikari flagship. The effect was immediate and catastrophic for the enemy vessel. Secondary explosions cascaded along its length as internal systems overloaded. Commander Vexkar's face appeared on the view screen once more, his expression now one of grudging respect, rather than contempt. Impressive tactics, Commander Reyes. You fight with unexpected ferocity for a species we've never encountered. We protect our allies, Elena replied simply. Withdraw your forces now and we can avoid further bloodshed. A strange sound emanated from the Vrikari commander, a series of clicking noises that the translation matrix didn't convert. It took Elena a moment to realize he was laughing. Perhaps the galaxy has become more interesting, he said. The Imperium recognizes strength when we see it. We will withdraw in for now. But know this, Earthers, you have earned the Imperium's attention. We will meet again. The damaged Vrikari vessels regrouped, the two functional ships taking the crippled one under escort. With a final transmission of coordinates, what Elena assumed was a formal documentation of the encounter, they engaged their warp drives and disappeared among the stars. In the aftermath, both the Horizon and the Luminar. Vessel limped back to the Luminar homeworld. The planet was even more beautiful up close. Azure oceans and emerald landmasses, with cities that gleamed like pearl and silver in the sunlight. As repair crews from both species worked to mend their damaged ships, Elena met with the Luminar, leadership in their capital city. The architecture was breathtaking, structures that seemed to grow organically from the landscape while reaching gracefully toward the sky. "You have given us something we had lost," Ilara told her, as they stood on a balcony overlooking the city. "Hope." "We only did what any decent species would do," Elena replied. Thelian, who had joined them, made a gesture that Elena had learned indicated disagreement. "No, Commander. What you did was remarkable. Your people evolved in conditions that would kill most sentient species, yet instead of becoming conquerors like the Ricari, you became protectors. The galaxy is full of Deathworld species," Ilara added, "but few use their strength and resilience to defend others. Most either remain isolated or become like the Ricari, believing their evolutionary advantages give them the right to dominate." Elena considered this. "On Earth we have a saying, 'With great power comes great responsibility.' We've learned, often the hard way, that being strong doesn't give you the right to bully others. It gives you the obligation to protect them." A new voice joined the conversation. Dr. Torres, who had been working with Luminar physicians to treat injuries from both ships. "It goes beyond philosophy," he said. "Biologically speaking, what allowed humans to dominate Earth wasn't just our physical resilience. It was our capacity for cooperation, for forming bonds with those different from ourselves." Elena nodded. "Perhaps that's humanity's real contribution to the galaxy." The days that followed were filled with cultural exchange and diplomatic discussions. The Luminar offered advanced technological knowledge, particularly in the fields of medicine and energy production. The humans shared their expertise in defensive systems and material science. A formal alliance was proposed, the first interstellar treaty humanity would sign. The Earth Alliance vessel would return home with Luminar representatives, opening official diplomatic channels between the two civilizations. As the Horizon prepared to depart, fully repaired and upgraded with Luminar technology, Elena received a final message from Ilara. "The Bricari will return," the Luminar leader warned, "and they rarely come alone next time. What you experienced was a small scouting force." "Then we'll be ready," Elena replied. "And we won't be alone either." Looking out at the stars from her command chair, Elena reflected on how much had changed in such a short time. Humanity had confirmed they weren't alone in the universe, made first contact with 2 alien species, fought their first interstellar battle, and formed their first extraterrestrial alliance. And they had learned something crucial about themselves, that the very planet that had forged them into Deathworlders had also given them the strength to protect others. The harsh conditions of Earth hadn't just made humans physically resilient. They had shaped a species that understood the value of cooperation and mutual protection. As the Horizon engaged its warp drive, leaving the Luminar system behind, Elena knew that humanity's place among the stars had forever changed. They had announced their presence to the galaxy not as conquerors but as defenders. The journey home would be long, but the message they carried was simple. Earth was a death world, and its children were a force to be reckoned with, not because of their strength alone, but because of what they chose to do with it. In the vast darkness between stars, word was already spreading about the newcomers to the galactic stage, the Deathworlders who fought not for conquest, but for alliance. And in the shadowy council chambers of the Ricari Imperium, war plans were being drawn up for a species that had done the unthinkable, standing against the Imperium and surviving to tell the tale. Humanity's test had just begun.